Hello, it's Cara, the brand consultant that helps startups and those with business ideas create unforgettable brands. Today, I've got a short video for anybody who is just at the very early stage of your business and don't yet have a logo or branding. So I have 5 tips for you on how you can go about getting yourself logo and branding and doing it right. So my first tip for you might go against the grain somewhat. My first tip is don't DIY it. Now, there are hundreds of different services. If you Google free logo design or logo generator, and I've written a whole blog about the pitfalls of those. But there are also some tools like Canva, Squarespace, and Wix that also offer logo builders that can feel really tempting when you're setting up and you're on a shoestring budget. I'd say even more so in the current climate where everyone is being dissuaded from the idea of spend with the fear that's lingering in the air about income and money. And I would give you 2 reasons, 2 strong reasons why you shouldn't. Now, that's not to say that if you need a placeholder visual where you create your business plan for your own visualization, that you can't create something like this, because that I think is perfectly fine. But my 2 reasons why I don't think this is a good idea is purely because, first of all, they are always templated. That's how they're able to offer them free. And that might seem fine because it looks professional enough for you when you're first setting up. Actually, it is by definition ununique. And that's not a strong position to be setting up your business from. So if you have created a logo on one of those logo builders, the chances are someone else has very similar logo and other consumers may have seen that logo. So that diminishes the authority of your brand immediately. The other reason is because you will basically have to reinvest at a later point. So if you use a logo that you create just in the first few weeks or few months, which totally makes sense and many people do, you're going to have to cover your tracks and create that impression for your customers. So essentially it's the principle of a first impression. You can only create a first impression once. So if you're just warming up audience and friends and family and writing your business plan and getting your ducks in order for yourself, then by all means create a temporary logo and put it out there. But if you are actually thinking of advertising or you're wanting to reach your actual client, then bear in mind that if you don't look the real deal in the first instance, they're probably not going to buy into your brand, whether that's buying your services or just trusting and following your brand on social media. So yeah, if you do create one of these, you're going to have to rebrand at some point anyway. So it's really good idea if you can to do it right the first time. And that's why I'm here. So obviously I know that for a lot of people setting up at the moment, they don't have the budget to do a one-to-one with myself and my designers, which is why I offer these free tips, lots of resources on my website and in my newsletter. So if that describes you, if you're somebody who is interested in branding and you know you want to do it properly, but you don't really have more than a couple of £100 right now or a few £100 and you don't have quite the budget to invest fully and properly at this point, then do go along to my website, carabendon.com, and sign up to my newsletter, because every other week I send lots of really practical tips free. End of plug. But genuinely, I wouldn't promote it if I didn't think that it was a real value add. I don't sell there at all. It's just tips, and it's for people like you because I do want to help, and I know that not everyone can afford our full fees. But so my second point is basically don't go for the cheapest. If you go for the cheapest, it really is a case of you get what you pay for. And there are places in your business that you can skinny down in the first instance until you get money coming in, but branding is not one of them. And that is because branding is something permanent. It's creating a sense of loyalty and consistency and relationship. As soon as somebody sees your logo or your brand, that's what they should be having positive associations with your business. So if it's changing every few months, then they don't know, they'll sort of see you as slippery and indecisive. They won't take your business seriously. And also in terms of recognition, they simply won't recognize it's the same business. So it's about being there for the long haul. You create a brand and you stick with it. That doesn't mean that your logo can't evolve, but if you look at the big guys, if you look at Amazon or Yahoo or Google or Cadbury or any of them or Starbucks, you'll see that their logo remains pretty unchanged across, 5, 10, 15, 20, even 30 or 100 year for Coca-Cola, for example, time periods. And they update it, but they keep what is the most recognizable element. And that is one of the key successes of running a really strong brand. So yeah, in terms of price, I would say now is actually a great time to approach a designer because so many people are just keen for work. All freelance and self-employed people within design, video, motion, animation, illustration, copywriting. I know I have a lot of them within my personal network, and I know that they are more open now than ever to taking on jobs, even if the budget isn't quite what they would hope for, because everyone's trying to make money and they enjoy doing what they do. Almost every designer that I've ever come across really, really gets a lot out of helping a small business. So that's something to consider. So the next point, my third point, is do be honest about your budget. So I think that, like I said, there are lots of times where you might feel like if you haggle hard, you're going to get a better deal. But the truth is, design works in time. So almost every designer I know is just going to offer you less of their time, which is going to make for a lesser considered brand. So just be honest up front. If you're flexible, so if in non-COVID conditions, I would say if you've got some flexibility around time, that's a really good bargaining chip, as it were. So if you can't put forward as much money as the person might normally expect, you can say that you're flexible about time, and then they can take you on as more of a passion project, something you want to do for their own satisfaction and creativity, rather than the most profitable project. And they can run it around bigger projects when they're waiting for client feedback, etc. So that's a really good one. So on the flip side of that, don't go to a designer, say, I've got £100 and I need it in 2 days, because, well, ultimately they'll either reject you or you just won't get as good work. So get them on side, show that you trust them by showing your true budget, whether that is 200, 300, 500, 800, 1,000, whatever your true budget is. If you lay out what that is at the beginning and your expectations for what you are hoping to get, and have that conversation with your designer, you're going to get much, much better work. Next tip is, now this is a big one. It may be that you found somebody on Instagram whose work you really like, and that is important. But bear in mind that you may not know exactly what the right style is for your brand until you start doing the strategy work, which I'll cover in another video. But, when you think about your client, think about them, their tastes, and what will appeal to them, and also what will stand out from the noise of your competitors to your audience, not just the aesthetics, the colors, the styles you're drawn to. So this is a big one for me. I hire designers all the time, and I make sure they always have a varied portfolio. It's absolutely fine, and in fact it's great if they have a signature style, but for me it's much more important that I can see that they can flex their style and their skill to various different types of project, because then I know I'm not going to get just another thing that looks like the rest of their portfolio. So that's very important, especially if you're selecting via Instagram, because a lot of the portfolios on there are beautiful but very samey. And my fifth and final tip is definitely do ask for recommendations. So don't just go, for somebody's niece because they know them. Be thorough and say, how was your experience in working with them? Did they listen to your concerns and questions? Did they help you work through the process of what you wanted? And things like that, were they timely? How did you find working with them? Were you happy with the work, and were you happy with the process? Those are going to be fantastic ways to find somebody. And also, there are huge creative communities on places like Facebook that are an excellent place to start. Well, I hope this helped you, and I will speak to you soon.